The vast darkness of space lit up with a flash of light as the Zaxkorian scout ship exited faster than light travel. The ship, sleek and silver against the blackness, turned its sensors toward the blue planet that hung in the distance. On the bridge, Commander Vexillar stood with his forearms clasped behind his back. His scaled skin reflected the blue glow of the ship's monitors as he studied the readings. "Interesting," he said. "This planet has life. Advanced life." His science officer, Trelnax, nodded. "Yes, Commander. But their space technology is limited. They have only reached their moon and sent a few basic probes to nearby planets." Vexillar's mouth stretched into what passed for a smile among his kind. "Perfect. Alert the Empire. We have found another world ripe for integration." 3 days later on Earth, Professor Alan Wright walked across the NASA campus with a tablet in his hand. The morning sun shone on his gray hair as he hurried toward the main building. Something strange had appeared in the deep space signals overnight, and he couldn't make sense of it. Inside the control room, Dr. Susan Miller looked up from her computer. "Alan, you're early today. Look at this," he said, handing her the tablet. "These patterns don't match anything natural." Susan's eyes widened as she studied the data. "You're right. This looks artificial. I think someone is watching us," Alan said quietly. Within hours, the news reached military command. Air Force Captain Eric Jones was pulled from training exercises and flown to Washington. In a secure underground room, he joined Susan and Alan as they briefed government officials. "We believe it's a spacecraft," Susan explained, "and it's getting closer." A general with 3 stars on his uniform frowned. "Hostile." "We don't know," Alan admitted, "but they're not trying to hide. It's almost like they want us to notice them." For the next week, people around the world noticed strange lights in the night sky. News channels showed grainy videos of objects moving in impossible ways. Governments tried to keep people calm, but everyone knew something big was happening. Then one morning, all TVs, radios, phones, and computers played the same message. "People of Earth, we are the Zaxkorian Empire. We come in peace to evaluate your species for galactic citizenship." The message repeated in every language on Earth. The United Nations called an emergency meeting. Leaders from all countries gathered in New York. Alan, Susan, and Eric sat in the back of the room as advisors. "We need to show them we are peaceful," one world leader said. "But also strong," added another. Alan studied the alien message again. They said, "Evaluate, like a test." Susan nodded. "And what happens if we fail?" Above Earth, the Zaxkorian fleet grew to 12 ships. Commander Vexillar reviewed the data his scouts had gathered. "Their weapons are primitive," he told his officers, "and they have no unified military. Different countries control different forces." "What about their history?" asked one officer. "Interesting," Vexillar replied. "They fought many wars in their past, but now they mostly cooperate. They appear to have grown soft, peaceful." His second-in-command tilted his head. "Is that not good? Peaceful species make the best subjects." "Exactly," Vexillar said. "This will be an easy acquisition. Their resources are plentiful, and their resistance will be minimal." On Earth, the UN agreed to send a welcome message to the aliens. They would invite them to land near the UN building for a formal greeting. As Eric helped prepare security, he whispered to Susan, "Do you trust them?" Susan looked up at the sky, where the alien ships were now visible even in daylight. "No, but we need to learn more about them before we decide what to do." Alan joined them, his face serious. "The message we received was translated too perfectly. They've been watching us for longer than we think." The 3 looked at each other, a silent understanding passing between them. Whatever happened next would change Earth forever. The day the aliens landed, people filled the streets around the United Nations building. They watched as a silver ship, smooth and oval-shaped, slowly descended from the sky. It made no sound as it touched down in the large open plaza. Security teams led by Captain Eric Jones formed a protective ring around the landing site. Eric's hand rested on his gun, though he had been ordered not to show any hostile intent. "Stay alert," he whispered to his team. Friendly faces, watchful eyes. A door slid open on the side of the ship. A ramp extended to the ground. Commander Vexlar emerged, flanked by 4 other aliens. They walked on 2 legs but had 4 arms. Their skin was pale blue with scales that caught the sunlight. There were no weapons that Eric could see. The UN Secretary General stepped forward with Alan and Susan at his side. "Welcome to Earth," the Secretary General said. "We are honored by your visit." Vexlar bowed slightly. "The honor is ours. Your world is beautiful. We look forward to learning about your culture." Over the next few days, meetings took place inside the UN building. The aliens shared information about their empire, which spanned dozens of star systems. They talked about advanced technology and the benefits of joining their galactic community. But Susan noticed something odd about their behavior. The aliens spoke to humans as adults might speak to children, with fake smiles and simple words. "They're not taking us seriously," she told Alan and Eric in the privacy of their hotel room. "They think we're primitive." Alan nodded. "I've been studying the materials they gave us. They've mentioned 12 other species they've welcomed into their empire, but there are no details about what happened to these worlds after they joined." Eric paced the room. "I don't like it. My security team reports the aliens are scanning everything. Buildings, technology, even our weapons. They're assessing us." Meanwhile, Commander Vexlar and his science officer, Trellnax, reviewed human history in their ship. "Such violence in their past," Trellnax observed, scrolling through images of world wars. "Yet now they live in relative peace." "A sign of weakness," Vexlar replied. They'd grown soft. Their nations compete with words instead of weapons. Their strongest military powers haven't fought each other in decades. "Should we be cautious? Their past shows capacity for extreme violence." Vexlar waved a dismissive hand. "Ancient history. Look at them now, divided into separate countries, arguing about climate and trade. They can barely agree on anything. They will never unite against us." On the 7th day, Vexlar requested a private meeting with the UN Security Council. Susan managed to get herself included as a scientific advisor. In the meeting room, Vexlar's tone changed. The fake friendliness disappeared. "Your world has resources we need," he stated flatly. "Your population centers are inefficient. Your technology is primitive." The room grew tense. A council member from France spoke up. "What exactly are you suggesting?" "We offer protection and guidance in exchange for resource rights," Vexlar said. "This is generous. Other species received less favorable terms." Susan's stomach tightened. This wasn't an offer of friendship. It was the beginning of a takeover. After the meeting, she rushed to find Alan and Eric. "It's happening," she said breathlessly. "They're not here for peaceful contact. They want our planet." Eric's face hardened. "I knew it. We need to alert military command." Alan looked pale. "They think we're weak because we're peaceful. They've completely misunderstood humanity." That night, the 3 friends watched from the hotel window as more alien ships arrived in Earth's orbit. News reports counted 23 vessels now visible in the night sky. "They're positioning themselves above major cities," Eric noted. "Standard invasion strategy." Susan gripped the windowsill. "They think this will be easy because we're not currently at war with each other." Alan's voice was quiet but firm. "Then we need to teach them why Earth chose peace, not because we couldn't fight, but because we knew exactly how destructive we could be," Eric finished. 2 weeks after the aliens first landed, Commander Vexlar stood before the UN Security Council. His 4 arms were spread wide in what humans now recognized as a gesture of authority. The room was tense. News cameras broadcast the meeting to people around the world. "The time for preliminary discussions is over," Vexlar announced. The Zax-Korean Empire requires your answer. Accept our protection and guidance, or face the consequences. The Secretary General leaned forward. What exactly are these consequences? Vexillar's scaled face showed no emotion. Those who refuse our generous offer find themselves unable to maintain their civilization. It would be unfortunate if Earth suffered such a fate. This sounds like a threat, said the representative from Kenya. Merely a statement of fact, Vexillar replied. You have 72 hours to reconsider. With a simple gesture to a device on his wrist, every light in the building went out. Computers shut down. Phones died. Then, one by one, the skyscrapers of Manhattan went dark. After 10 seconds, power returned. Vexillar smiled. A small demonstration. We can do much more. As the alien delegation left, panic spread through the room. World leaders argued about what to do. Many believed surrender was the only option. Alan, Susan, and Eric gathered in a secure room beneath the UN building. He shut down the power with just a wrist device. Susan said, their technology is far beyond ours. Alan spread papers across the table. I've been studying their language and records. They'd done this before. 12 other worlds, all with the same pattern. They target peaceful species, make demands, then take over. What happens to the people on these worlds? Eric asked. Alan's face was grim. They become workers, second-class citizens in their own homes. Eric slammed his fist on the table. We need to fight back. With what? Susan asked. Our most advanced weapons would be useless against their ships. Maybe not, Alan said quietly. I noticed something when the power went out. Their communication devices flickered before they could adjust. They're vulnerable to certain types of electromagnetic interference. In Washington, military leaders gathered in the Pentagon. Reports came in from around the world. China, Russia, India, and the European Union all reported the same thing. Alien ships were now positioned above their major cities. President William Clark addressed the Joint Chiefs. Options. General Patricia Higgins spoke first. Direct military action would be suicide. But we've been analyzing their technology. There might be weaknesses we can exploit. The president nodded. Contact every nation. We need a united response. Back in New York, Susan worked with a team of scientists examining data from the power outage. Their systems operate on quantum principles, she explained to Eric and Alan, but they have to sync with local power grids to affect them. That creates a vulnerability. Eric nodded. If we could disrupt that sync, we might buy ourselves time. We need more information, Alan said. I need access to their main ship. Susan looked up. That's impossible. Not if we pretend to accept their terms, Eric suggested. We could send a delegation aboard their ship to discuss details. Get inside, gather intel. In Moscow, Beijing, London, and capitals around the world, similar conversations were happening. Secret messages passed between governments. For the first time in history, all major military powers agreed to a single coordinated plan. On TV screens worldwide, presidents and prime ministers announced their decision to accept the Zax-Korean terms. Commander Vexillar was pleased. Prepare the integration protocols, he ordered his officers. Mark this as one of our easiest acquisitions. His science officer looked uncertain. Sir, I've been studying more of their history. Their capacity for violence is ancient history, Vexillar interrupted. Look how quickly they surrendered. These humans will serve the Empire well. As the 72-hour deadline approached, Earth appeared to be preparing for surrender. But deep underground and behind closed doors, a different preparation was underway. Operation Thunderclap was ready to begin. The world held its breath as the 72-hour deadline approached. On the surface, nations prepared for surrender. White flags flew from government buildings. Military bases appeared to stand down. News reports showed soldiers returning to barracks and ships sailing back to port. But it was all a show. Deep underground, In bunkers and secret facilities across the globe, humanity prepared for war. Every nation contributed their best minds and resources to the effort. In a facility beneath the Rocky Mountains, Susan led a team of scientists working around the clock. They had discovered that all Zaxxorian technology relied on a specific quantum frequency for communication. If we can disrupt this frequency, she explained to military officials, their systems will be temporarily disabled. Eric stood before a map showing alien ship positions. The disruption will only last for minutes. We need to use that time to strike fast and simultaneously. In another room, Alan worked with linguists and computer experts. They had managed to translate enough of the alien language to access parts of their database. "I found something," Alan said, calling Susan and Eric over to his computer. "Look at their conquest history." The screen showed records of 12 planets the Zaxxorians had taken over. "Notice anything?" Alan asked. Susan studied the data. "They're all peaceful civilizations. No major wars for at least a century before contact." "Exactly," Alan said. "The Zaxxorians deliberately target peaceful species. They avoid aggressive ones." Eric's eyes narrowed. "They're bullies. They only pick fights they know they can win." Alan nodded. "And they've completely misunderstood humanity. They think our current peace means we're naturally peaceful." In London, military strategist Olivia Carter discovered patterns in alien patrol routes. In Tokyo, engineers developed weapons that could pierce alien armor. In Bangalore, computer experts created viruses to infiltrate alien systems. All these efforts were coordinated through secure channels hidden from alien detection. The plan had a single name: Operation Thunderclap. Meanwhile, the aliens prepared to take control of Earth. They believed humanity had surrendered without a fight. Commander Vexlar addressed his officers aboard the main ship. "Tomorrow we begin the integration of Earth. Their resources will fuel our expansion for centuries." One young officer raised a concern. "Sir, should we not be more cautious? Their historical records show." "Their history is irrelevant," Vexlar interrupted. "Look at them now. They surrender without firing a single shot. They are weak." The officer bowed and fell silent. On Earth, as night fell across New York, Susan, Alan, and Eric gathered in their hotel room one last time. "Everything is ready," Susan said quietly. "Every major nation is on board." Eric checked his watch. "The surrender ceremony is at noon tomorrow. That's when we strike." Alan looked out at the alien ships hovering over the city. "They think we're peaceful because we're weak. They never considered we might be peaceful because we know exactly how terrible war can be." Susan put her hand on his shoulder. "And now they'll learn why the most dangerous opponent isn't the one who's always fighting. It's the one who knows how to fight but chooses not to," Eric finished. "Until they have no choice." They spent the rest of the night reviewing the plan one last time. Special Forces teams were in position near every alien landing site. Modified EMP devices were ready to disrupt alien communications. Hackers waited to break into alien systems. For the first time in human history, every nation on Earth worked together with a single purpose: survival. As dawn broke over New York, Commander Vexlar prepared for the formal surrender ceremony. He selected his finest uniform and practiced his victory speech. "Today marks the glorious expansion of the Zaxxorian Empire," he rehearsed. "Earth will prosper under our guidance." He had no idea what humanity had planned for him. The day of the surrender ceremony arrived. The sky was clear blue over New York City. Alien ships hovered above major cities worldwide, their shadows falling over streets filled with worried people. At the United Nations Plaza, a stage had been set up. Flags of all nations fluttered in the breeze. World leaders sat in rows of chairs, their faces solemn. News cameras broadcast the event to billions of people watching from home. Commander Vexlar arrived with his officers, walking proudly to the stage. He wore ceremonial armor that glittered in the sunlight. The Secretary General greeted him with a bow. "We are ready to begin," the Secretary General said. Vexillar nodded, pleased. Today marks the beginning of a new era for Earth. Unknown to the aliens, tiny devices have been placed around the plaza. Similar devices waited near alien ships in cities around the world. Each device was tuned to the exact quantum frequency Susan had discovered. Inside a van parked 3 blocks away, Susan watched the ceremony on a small screen. Eric sat beside her in military uniform, ready to move. Alan monitored communications from a hidden room beneath the UN building. The Secretary General stepped up to the microphone. "People of Earth, today we formalize our relationship with the Zaxxorian Empire." He paused, then said the code phrase. "We look to the thunder for guidance." Susan pressed a button on her laptop. Instantly, every device activated. A pulse of energy, invisible but powerful, swept across the city. Alien communication systems went dark. The hovering ships wobbled in the air. Vexillar's wrist device sparked and died. He looked around in confusion as his officers shouted in their language. That's when Operation Thunderclap truly began. Military helicopters rose from hidden positions around the city. Special forces teams that had been disguised as security guards pulled weapons from beneath their jackets. World leaders were quickly moved to safety. "What is happening?" Vexillar demanded, his voice no longer calm. The Secretary General stood tall. "We are declining your offer." Across the globe, the scene repeated. In Moscow, Beijing, London, and Delhi, alien ships were hit by the same energy pulse. Their weapons systems failed. Their communications went silent. In the van, Susan watched as her plan worked. "The disruption will only last 7 minutes," she said. "That's all the time we have." Eric was already moving. "That's all we need." Teams of soldiers approached the smaller alien ships that had landed in parks and squares. Using tools designed by engineers around the world, they forced open the doors and boarded the vessels. In the sky, fighter jets that had been hidden underground rose to meet the larger ships. They fired missiles specially designed to pierce alien armor. Commander Vexillar watched in horror as humans transformed before his eyes. The peaceful, surrendering species was gone. In its place was a coordinated military force fighting with skill and precision. "Impossible," he whispered. His officers tried to retreat to their ship, but found their path blocked by soldiers. For the first time, fear showed on their alien faces. Eric led a team straight toward Vexillar. "Commander," he said, "you're coming with us." In space, satellites that had appeared non-functional suddenly activated, targeting the alien fleet. Earth's hidden weapons, developed in secret and placed in orbit over the past 2 weeks, fired in unison. Several alien ships, caught completely by surprise, were damaged before they could raise their shields. Inside the hidden room, Alan coordinated with military centers around the world. "Phase 1 complete," he reported. "Moving to Phase 2. As the 7 minutes ended, the aliens began to recover their systems. But it was too late. Humans had gained control of several smaller ships and damaged many larger ones. Most importantly, they had captured Commander Vexillar. The alien leader was brought to a secure facility, surrounded by guards. His arrogance was gone now. He stared at the humans in disbelief. You tricked us," he said. Susan stepped forward. "No, you tricked yourselves. You saw what you wanted to see." "This isn't possible," Vexillar insisted. "You are a peaceful species." Eric laughed without humor. "That was your first mistake." The aliens recovered quickly from the initial attack. Their ships regained power, shields went up, and weapons came online. They launched a fierce counterattack against Earth's military bases and power plants. But humanity was ready. Forces had been moved to backup locations. Critical infrastructure had been hardened or hidden. The lessons of countless wars between nations now served a greater purpose: survival against an alien threat. In the command center beneath the Pentagon, Olivia Carter directed global defense efforts. Screens showed battles raging around the world. They're targeting our conventional military assets, she reported. Just as we expected. The president nodded. What about our captured ships? Teams are figuring out how to use them now. Olivia replied. We need a few more hours. In a secure facility in Colorado, Susan worked frantically with engineers to understand the alien technology they had captured. The equipment was advanced, but not impossible to understand. Their weapons run on principles similar to our particle accelerators, she explained to the scientists around her, but far more efficient. One of the engineers looked up from a disassembled alien rifle. We can replicate this. Not perfectly, but enough to create working versions. Meanwhile, Eric led teams in practicing with the smaller alien vessels they had captured. The controls were strange, but pilots were learning quickly. They rely too much on their technology, Eric told his squadron. They never expected us to be able to use it against them. Across the globe, the pattern was the same. The aliens attacked with overwhelming force, expecting easy victory. Instead, they found humans using guerrilla tactics, hitting fast, then disappearing before the aliens could respond. In New York, Alan interrogated Commander Vexillar. They sat across from each other in a reinforced room deep underground. Why did you choose Earth? Alan asked. Vexillar's 4 arms were bound, but his posture remained proud. You were peaceful, divided, an easy conquest. And the other worlds you conquered, were they the same? Yes, Vexillar admitted. We avoid aggressive species, too costly to subdue. Alan leaned forward. That was your mistake. We aren't peaceful because we can't fight. We're peaceful because we chose to be. For the first time, real doubt showed in Vexillar's eyes. Above London, a major battle unfolded. 3 alien ships launched attacks against the city. British fighter jets engaged them, drawing their fire while ground forces targeted the ships with captured alien weapons. One of the alien vessels crashed into the Thames River, sending huge waves crashing against the banks. The other 2 retreated to higher altitude. Similar scenes played out over Moscow, Beijing, and other major cities. Humanity couldn't match the aliens in direct combat, but they could wound them, forcing them to be cautious. In orbit, astronauts from the International Space Station, who had been secretly replaced with military personnel weeks earlier, used the station's robotic arms to attach devices to passing alien ships. These devices, based on Susan's research, disrupted the aliens' navigation systems. By the end of the first day, humanity had destroyed 7 alien ships and captured 5 more. But there were still more than 50 alien vessels in Earth's orbit, and they were adapting to human tactics. In Colorado, Susan made a breakthrough. She found a way to access the aliens' communication network. We can listen to their transmissions, she told the president over a secure line, and maybe even send false orders. Eric's team had mastered the basics of flying the alien ships. We're ready to take them into combat, he reported. Alan discovered something crucial in the alien database. They've called for reinforcements, he warned. A larger fleet is coming. How long do we have? Olivia asked. 3 days, maybe 4, Alan replied. But I also found information about their homeworld and fleet deployments. Knowledge we can use. The aliens gathered their forces for a major assault. They believed they could still crush human resistance with one decisive attack. They were about to learn another lesson about humanity. We never give up. 3 days after Operation Thunderclap began, Earth prepared for its boldest move yet. Using the captured alien ships, a joint human task force would launch an assault on the Zaxkorian command vessel. The plan was risky. If it failed, Earth would lose its best fighters and pilots. But if it succeeded, the alien fleet would be thrown into chaos. In a hangar beneath the Nevada desert, Eric briefed the pilots and soldiers who would join the mission. We'll approach using their own ships, sending the correct identification codes that Susan's team cracked, he explained. Once aboard, we split into 3 teams. Team 1 secures the bridge. Team 2 takes the engine room. Team 3 finds their central database. Olivia Carter would lead Team 1, Eric would lead Team 2, and a Russian Special Forces commander would lead Team 3. "What about their reinforcements?" asked one of the pilots. "Ellen's team is working on that," Eric replied. "If all goes well, they'll never arrive." In her lab, Susan made final adjustments to small devices each team member would carry. "These will help you navigate their computer systems," she explained to Olivia, "and jam their personal weapons." The mission launched at dawn. 5 captured alien vessels, now piloted by humans, rose from hidden bases around the world. They joined in orbit, then approached the massive Zax-Korian command ship. Inside the lead ship, Eric felt a strange mix of fear and excitement. Humans had never fought in space before. Now they were about to board an alien battleship. "Approaching command vessel," reported the pilot. "Transmitting identification codes now." Tense moments passed. Then came the response. "Codes accepted. Proceed to docking bay 3." The human ships landed inside the massive alien vessel. As planned, security was minimal. The Zax-Korians never expected their own ships to be used against them. The teams moved quickly through the corridors. Using Susan's devices, they avoided most guards and disabled the few they encountered. Meanwhile, on Earth, Alan led a different kind of attack. Using the access codes found in Vexillar's captured files, he and his team of hackers infiltrated the aliens' communication network. "Send the abort message to the reinforcement fleet," he ordered. "Make it look like it comes directly from Vexillar." The message went out, encoded in the highest Zax-Korian authority protocols. "Mission compromised. Return to base immediately. Security breach detected." Aboard the command ship, Olivia's team reached the bridge first. The alien officers turned in surprise as the doors slid open. Before they could react, Susan's devices activated, disabling their weapons. "Secure the room," Olivia ordered. Her soldiers moved quickly, binding the aliens. Eric's team faced more resistance at the engine room. A firefight broke out, with alien energy weapons flashing against human bullets. Several soldiers fell, but they pushed forward, using tactics developed over centuries of human warfare. "We need to take that control panel," Eric shouted, pointing across the room. A young soldier nodded, then sprinted through enemy fire to reach it. He was hit twice but managed to place one of Susan's devices on the panel before falling. The aliens' weapons went dead. Team 3 reached the central database and began downloading everything they could find. On the bridge, Olivia found the ship's commander, Trelnax, Vexillar's second-in-command. He stared at the humans in disbelief. "How is this possible?" he asked. "You were peaceful. That's what we wanted you to think," Olivia replied. Back on Earth, Susan received the first data transmissions from the command ship. "We're getting everything," she told Alan. "Their entire fleet deployment, weapons specifications, star charts." Alan smiled. "And the reinforcements." "They turned around," Susan confirmed. "Your fake message worked." In Nevada, the president was brought to the facility where Vexillar was held. Alan and Susan joined them. "Your command ship has been captured," the president told Vexillar. "Your reinforcements have been turned away." Vexillar's eyes widened. "Impossible." Alan placed a tablet before him, showing live footage from the command ship. "Your empire has never faced anything like us before, have you?" "Never," Vexillar admitted quietly. The remaining alien ships gathered for one final desperate attack. Their leaders were captured, their command ship taken, but they still had superior technology. They believed they could still win. They were wrong. Using the knowledge gained from the command ship's database, Earth's forces were ready. Susan had discovered the exact frequency that could disrupt the alien shields. Alan had decoded their battle plans. Eric and Olivia had learned their tactics. As alien ships descended toward major cities, they met a unified human response. Fighter jets launched missiles calibrated to the exact shield frequency of each vessel. Ground-based weapons, modified with alien technology, fired in perfect coordination. In orbit, the captured command ship, now controlled by humans, targeted the alien fleet from behind. The Zaxkorians had never experienced such a complete military defeat. 7 more of their ships crashed to Earth. 5 fled into space. The rest surrendered. In the Nevada facility, the president addressed Commander Vexillar. "Your invasion has failed," he said simply. Vexillar looked broken. His proud posture was gone. "How? You were peaceful." "Peace was our choice," the president replied, "not our nature." Susan stepped forward. "You studied our history but understood nothing. We fought terrible wars among ourselves. We learned the cost of conflict. Peace wasn't weakness, it was wisdom." Alan added, "You thought peace meant we couldn't fight. Really, it meant we knew exactly how to fight, but chose not to. Until you gave us no choice," Eric finished. The president looked directly at Vexillar. "Now you have a choice. Take a message back to your empire. Leave Earth alone. Leave all peaceful worlds alone. Or what?" Vexillar asked. "Or we'll bring the lesson to you," the president said. "We now have your technology, your star charts, and your battle tactics." 3 days later, under heavy guard, Vexillar and the surviving alien officers were allowed to board one of their smaller ships. Before departing, Vexillar spoke to Susan, Alan, and Eric one last time. "My people never imagined a species could be both peaceful and powerful," he said. "We thought they were opposites." "That was your mistake," Susan replied. As the alien ship rose into the sky, people around the world watched on screens and from streets and rooftops. For the first time in history, all of humanity had fought together against a common threat, and won. 1 month later, the United Nations established a new space defense force. Susan was named the head of science and technology. Alan became the chief of alien communications and intelligence. Eric took command of the new space fleet, which now included 12 modified alien vessels. "We'll need to be ready," the Secretary General said during the ceremony. "They might return." But Eric shook his head. "I don't think they will. They only attack species they think are weak. They know better now." Using the alien technology, humanity accelerated its space program. New ships were built. Colonies were planned for Mars and beyond. The stars, once distant and unreachable, now seemed within grasp. 6 months after the invasion, a new alien ship appeared in Earth's orbit, but this one came in peace, for real this time. It carried diplomats from the Zaxkorian Empire, seeking a formal treaty. "We have reconsidered our expansion policies," their ambassador said. "We wish to establish true peaceful relations." Even more surprising, representatives from other species came as well, those who had been conquered by the Zaxkorians and were now seeking independence. In the new Space Defense Headquarters, Susan smiled as she watched the diplomatic proceedings on screen. "They really did learn their lesson," she said. Alan nodded. "And now other peaceful species look to us for protection." "That's the greatest irony," Eric said. "They attacked us because we were peaceful. Now we're the guardians of peace across the stars." The 3 friends looked out the window at the night sky. The stars seemed different now, not just distant lights, but places humanity would someday visit. Earth had taught the galaxy a powerful lesson. True peace comes from strength and wisdom combined. And those who mistake peace for weakness learn that lesson the hard way.